Hi, everyone. It's great to see you all joining from all over the world. Welcome to part 2 of the Extreme Tech Challenge category finals for the AgTech, food, and water category. I'm Victoria Slivkov, back again as your host. We did the same exercise yesterday, so I want to do this again. To get a sense of who's online with us, please use the chat function and tell us what country you're joining from. Okay. Femi's from Nigeria, welcome. Yeah, we have Vancouver, Canada, Argentina, Austin, Rome, Italy, Germany, Kansas City, Spain, Brazil, UK. That is awesome. It truly reflects the global nature of the XTC community. Yes, shout out to Bay Area and Sydney, Australia. It's great to see so many people rejoining from yesterday's part 1 session as well. So just a little background about XTC for those of you who are new to the program. We're the world's largest tech innovation ecosystem for making the world a radically better place. It is the launching pad for the disruptive technologies that are addressing the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Our 7 competition tracks laid out here were organized by the UN SDG framework. XTC was founded by Young Sung and Bill Tai, 2 Silicon Valley-based investors, corporate executives, and entrepreneurs who themselves have invested in and have built multiple billion-dollar companies that are now household names. And they're passionate about our mission to empower entrepreneurs, all of you on the line pitching today, building innovative technologies that improve the world, and really believe in this power of a community to identify potential market-leading companies that can make a huge impact. And provide them the rocket fuel to help them scale faster. So follow them on social media and check out Young's video interview series, The Next Wave, for thought leadership and practical advice for founders and investors. Our community is comprised of Fortune 500 companies, VCs, tech founders, policymakers, foundations, NGOs, and universities working together to create a better tomorrow. So if you're on the phone, want to get involved, please reach out to me. We'll get you plugged into XTC. Through participating, exceptional startups gain global visibility, access to raise capital, engage in corporate strategic partnerships, and develop mentorship relationship and friendships that will carry you far into the future. And sharing some highlights from XTC 2021, this year, over 3,700 startups applied from almost 100 countries, and 80 finalists were selected by about 300 judges across our 21 regional competitions and through open application. So it's definitely a very competitive process, and it speaks volume to the people, the 80 exceptional companies that have all emerged as the top 2% from this very, very competitive pool. This is an amazing achievement, and I really consider all of you as winners in any case. And here's a look at the entire cohort this year. To learn more, head to our website, extremetechchallenge.org. And bring you to the program today, here's the entire cohort of the 16 finalists for the AgTech, food, and water category. You heard from the first 8 companies that pitched yesterday, so please head to our YouTube channel later this week, and the video recording from the previous session will be uploaded by then, and all other tracks. Today is part 2 of the pitches for this category, and I'm so excited for you to hear from these 8 exceptional startups shown here. So before we get to the pitch, I'd like to welcome again back our esteemed judging panel. Returning to the stage, I'm so pleased to welcome Beth Bechtel. She's the Deputy Director General of the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization. Kathy Chen, Principal at 1955 Capital. Pablo Gomez-Trenner, co-founder at The Lab Ventures. Kevin Lockett, partner and CFO at Fulcrum Global Capital. And lastly, Leonie Weirkuhn, she's an investor at Kinetic VC. So roundtable, quick self-intro, judges, would you please say a few words about your role and particularly your interest in the ag tech and food space? Let's start with Beth.
Thanks, Victoria, and hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. My second year, FAO's second year, in participating with XTC. FAO is the specialized agency in the United Nations who has actually custodian oversight of a number of very important SDGs, including SDG 2, SDG 1, SDG 10, and we are very much engaged in a number of the other climate, aquaculture, oceans, food, and consumer-related sustainable development goals. This is critically important for us to see all of the new ideas and the creativity that comes from the startup community to contributing tech for good that will ultimately help us, we hope, get back on track to achieve the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. So I'm excited to hear the big ideas. I'm excited to see the passion and commitment that so many of you have. And thanks for all the hard work. Back over to you, Victoria.
Thank you, Beth. Right over to you, Kathy.
Hey everyone, I'm with 1955 Capital, and we're an early stage venture capital fund here in the Silicon Valley. We're very, very interested in the intersection of technology and how that can go solve a lot of the greatest challenges facing our world today, and particularly in the food and ag space. We've done a number of investments in the space and always interested to see what new entrepreneurs and new ideas are out there. So very, very excited to be a part of the second day events today.
Great, welcome back, Kathy. Pablo, over to you. Oh, you're on mute.
Okay. Thank you, Victoria. Morning or good evening or whatever to everyone. My name is Pablo Gomez-Trenner. I've been working as a venture capitalist the last 5 years, and currently as a venture builder founder. My connection to agriculture, food, and water is through my family business, which is related to Coca-Cola bottling, Ebro Foods, and farming in the field of orange. And that's about it. Have a good one, everyone.
I should also mention that Pablo has invested in XTC companies, so appreciate your support. Over to you. Welcome back, Kevin.
Thank you. Hi, Fulcrum Global Capital is an early stage venture fund in Kansas City. Our focus is specifically on agriculture, AgTech, and then animal health, the production side of animals. We are really looking at technologies that are allowing us to create more food. So increase in food production, food safety, and then looking at reductions in food waste. This is our first fund, but our team's been together for the past 9 years, investing in these same verticals. So we also have invested in an XTC company. So excited to hear the day two presenters.
Great, thank you, Kevin. And then lastly, welcome Leonie back.
Hi, thank you. Thank you all for having me, and welcome founders. My name is Leonie and I'm an investor with Kinetic. Kinetic is an early stage, well, the thesis is early stage focus on investing across multi-use technology that can be used to accelerate climate action through environmental conservation. So this could be either indirect or direct. For instance, ocean tech, agricultural tech, food tech. I do also look at new materials. I typically move through life personally and professionally thinking of the 3 Ps. So purpose, people, planet, and within VC, obviously also the 4th P, which is profit. Also very much looking at how the SDGs all connect to the core for myself and for the fund, which is climate and climate change, which there's so many incredible technology out there that can really cross-pollinate across sectors. So really look at how we could be thinking beyond just our local or geographic setting.
Great, thank you. Very well said. So with that, I know we're all eager to dig into the pitch presentations. So first up, I'd like to welcome Sophie's Bionutrients, who makes sustainable urban protein. So with that, I'll stop screen share and give him the stage.
All right, everyone can see my screen, right?
Yes.
All right, I'll start. My name is Eugene Wang. I'm the co-founder and CEO of this company called Sophie's Bionutrients. Our goal is to create a truly sustainable protein production system that requires absolute minimum resources with absolute maximum nutrition output. This is the problem we're trying to tackle with. We all know that when people get healthier, they eat more protein. But we all know that animal protein is not sustainable. What about plant-based protein? Is it really the silver bullet? We think not. That's why we came up with this solution. We went through close to 1,000 different strains of microalgae. We finally found about a few strains of microalgae that can grow in dark in fermentation style and be sturdy enough to be fed with food waste to create a circular economy. And the end process create a very pleasant, low color, low smell protein flour. And potentially the price can be also very competitive. The market opportunity is very real for this protein. According to a recent research by Boston Consulting Group, by the year of 2035, there will be 22 million metric tons of alternative protein being consumed by people that will come from microorganism-based protein. So why our technology is more sustainable? Well, first is time. Our microalgae double in size every 8 to 12 hours, and because of that, we're able to harvest our protein in under 3 days. And because of short cycle, all the water energy you need on a per unit basis is very, very little. So that's a lot of money saving as well. Another is space. Growing a ton of our microalgae protein flour requires just that 0.02 hectare of space. And don't forget, using fermentation, we don't need any of these chemicals in the process. Really healthy to the environment and the human body. The reason why we choose to use food waste to feed our microalgae is for reduced cost and create a circular economy. And the first food waste we're gonna use here in Singapore will be Nestle's Milo spring grains. And with the bigger bioreactor, the lower our unit cost. And we foresee down the road in the future that we can lower our price so competitive that most of the plant-based protein available today will possibly not be our competition. This is our product roadmap. We plan to design a lot of different kind of protein flours with different kind of functional properties so that we can satisfy different kind of food application. And this is the first protein flour we have. The protein purity can be called a protein concentrate by the industry jargon. And from this protein flour, we successfully made it into a plant-based milk alternative. We have a lot of IPs on this technology. So far, we have filed 6 provisional patents in the US. We also have 2 design patents on our bioreactors in the US as well. We're in the process of filing global patents. Our revenue model will be B2B ingredient food sales. So we plan to sell our finished protein flour directly. We also plan to license the whole technology so that we can really cut down the carbon footprint and supply the market locally. And that will really make it a sustainable technology. And through the protein isolation process, we also have a lot of byproducts for sale. Our go-to-market strategy looks more like this. We're now in phase 1. We're doing a lot of customization. And I'm glad to report that Ingredient Asia Pacific has become our first customer. This is the competitive landscape. We're the only one in Asia, only one use food waste to feed our microalgae as well. Our Milestones Tractions, we started this project in Singapore back in 2017, and right before the pandemic, we finished a 10,000 liter proof of value fermentation run. This is my team. Other than myself, I got Kirin and Barnabas, both of whom have a lot of years of experiences in pharmaceutical and nutraceutical industry. And with that, I conclude my presentation, and thank you for your attention. The floor opens up for any questions.
Thank you, Eugene, for kicking us off. Over to you, judges, for your questions.
I can go first. Hey, Eugene, thanks for sharing what you guys are doing. Can you talk a little bit about kind of the functional features of your protein? Obviously, there are a lot of people looking at either anything from algae to different types of plant-based, duckweed. You know, there's a lot of different things to choose from. So for your protein, what are some of the benefits? And then as you think about R&D down the road, what levers do you have to be able to hit additional products?
Right. So I think a lot of the new alternative protein guys, startups, I mean, they focus on, they're gonna sell you the whole protein. The idea is that it's wholesome, It's natural, healthier, and less processing to reduce their costs. All that sounds very true, but as a food manufacturer, from my past career, I know very well in the sense that if your protein purity is not high enough, I basically cannot plug into a lot of my formulations, meaning that I won't be able to use your protein flour at all, or not in many food applications. That means that your impact will be limited. That means that your application, your revenue will also be very limited. And so that is why protein isolation is a big part of our technology, in the sense that using different kind of protein isolation process, we can develop protein that's water soluble, we can develop protein that's emulsifying pretty well, or we can even develop a protein flour that has good gelatin. All these are basic but very important features for the food manufacturers. And if you want to crack into their world, you really have to be in this range. And I hope I answered all the questions. Is there any second question? I forgot.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, if you guys are, you said 10,000 liter manufacturing now,
right?
In terms of the fermentation tanks, like what, what's kind of the unit economics currently?
Yes, good question. So the economic right now is still pretty bad. 10,000 by the industry level is still tiny. So at the moment, our cost running close to $30 per kilo. But once we are able to upgrade that to 100,000 liter, 100 ton, our calculation shows that we can right away drop that cost under to single digit, meaning that our selling price should be able to control within 10 to 15 US dollars. And if we up that tank level up 2-3 times more, you can see that number drop under 5 US dollars, and straight away we will be very competitive.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Maybe I can go now.
Sure.
Sophie just stole my question about unit economics, so I'll move to the next one, which is, Eugene, how new is your technology? I'm sorry, I'm a total ignorant about this kind of
no worry.
Production.
Yep, we are definitely not the first one in the world. I'm glad that we're not the first one in the world either. The microalgae fermentation has been around for close to 80 years, and it has been industrialized by a US company based in San Francisco for about close to 30 years. Now, there are, I wouldn't say 100, but definitely quite a few microalgae fermentation companies in existence. Most of the companies use microalgae fermentation to grow lipid, which is DHA, omega-3, that kind of nutraceutical ingredient. Now, lipid induction is totally different technology than protein induction. So the companies that are doing protein inductions are very few. Some of them are listed in my deck. There are a few more which are dedicated to the nutraceutical ingredient space, not to the food space. But what I can tell you is that this technology has been around 20-30 years. You can find a lot of good engineers, good consultants, good machine suppliers to help you create the craft. The most important thing is how you assemble these together to make a wonderful product to sell to the customer. And that is really our know-how and our trade secrets.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Eugene, would you maybe expand a little bit on your team? I think you mentioned you had a food manufacturing background a little bit. Maybe just talk a little bit more about the relevant experience, whether it be your background or any of your other team members.
Sure. I was born and grew up in Taiwan. My family were being 4th-generation Buddhism and 3th-generation making plum meat for the religious folks. And I spent 5 years. I dedicated my whole career with my family business prior to becoming an entrepreneur. I spent 5 years in the factory. I can tell you down to the ingredient level what you need to make that chicken nuggets, plant-based chicken nuggets, or plant-based burger, or even plant-based sausage. What machine you need, what's the process flow. I can tell you and write up all that for you. And so that's me. And when I found out my daughter Sophie is allergic to shellfish, I first started the world's first plant-based seafood company in Sebastopol, California, called Sophie's Kitchen, back in 2010. Turns out I started too early. That's why I said I hate first mover advantage, because turns out first mover is not an advantage. But we survived. And over the last 10 years, I got a lot of customers asking me, can your plant-based seafood products have equivalent nutritional value like the real seafood? That's how started in 2013. We work on this microalgae protein, and that's how this came into being.
Hi, Eugene, it's Leonie. Victoria, do we still have time for one
Sure,
more?
of course. Yeah, go ahead.
I just have two quick questions. What is your marketing strategy and how would you use the funds for your next funding round?
So the strategy is that I think we as a team, especially from my experiences and my knowledge, compared to a lot of other microalgae companies, we know more about foods. In fact, I always say to people, we're not microalgae companies. We're food tech companies using microalgae as the medium. So that is our mission. And we also identify very quickly that plant milk and plant meat industry will be the first beachhead for us to get into. Reason is that these are the industry that is really interested in anything new, anything protein. And so if you get into bakery, if you get into pasta like a lot of our competition do, I don't think there's going to be a lot of marketing opportunity or business opportunity over that end. However, getting into meat and milk, there's tons of opportunity and a lot of interest. If we can have a private chat, I can tell you all the companies get in touch with us. And on top of that, I have a patent in meat extrusion, the protein extrusion technology, how you translate the protein flour into texture meat. So I know a lot of the technology. So I know what type of protein flour is needed in order to make that meat work, in order to make that milk work. And so that is the difference in terms of our strategy to go into the market. And that would be the key difference in our offerings as well.
And the second part of that question was, how would you use your next round of funding?
Oh, sorry about that. So the next round of funding, because we have this contractual agreement with Singapore government, so we have to set up our company-owned facility and lab in Singapore Science Park too. So the bulk, I would say 70% of the money will be used on that. A small part of the money will be using on our patents as well. And also another small part we'll use on expanding our staff. So that is sort of the breakdown of the fund use.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Eugene, for your presentation.
Thank you, thank you.
Next up, please welcome to take the stage Femi from Food Locker. Food Locker is a farm produce and consumer goods aggregator for large buyers based in Nigeria. Femi?
Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Yeah, so I'll just start now.
Yep.
I hope everyone can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Hi. Imagine we could empower a poor, illiterate smallholder farmer in Africa enough to be as productive and as prosperous as a tech-enabled farmer in the United States. It's called Food Locker. In September 2019, Nigeria's largest tomato processing facility was shut down because they couldn't find enough tomatoes to run their operations and thousands of jobs were at risk. That is the story of a $350 billion market for food in Africa that is at risk with inflation above 20% because over 250 million smallholder farmers lack access to scientific production methods, input, credit, expertise, and markets. Current solutions include farm management software and aggregators that are either too sophisticated for the smallholder farmers or fail to solve for site selling. Then comes in Food Locker. We use market access and farm management solutions to meet the farm produce needs of large buyers by supporting smallholder farmers with access to input, credit, and expertise. We call it a farming as a service platform. How does it work? We collect historical demand data and forward contracts from large buyers. We then forecast the demand into the future such that we can inform the smallholder farmers about what to produce and when. Our partners then provide support in terms of input, credit, and expertise to the smallholders. While the smallholders are producing, we're collecting data, we're optimizing their yields, and at harvest, we sell directly to the large buyers, leveraging our logistics partners. Ultimately, the farmers make money and everybody makes money. And all the smallholder farmer has to do, in addition to producing, is to send a simple text message report written in any language from any type of phone or geography with GSM coverage to dedicated phone number, and our system converts that into input consumption, output growth, revenue profiles, and cost profiles that lenders can use to extend credit to the smallholders. My team has over 40 years of work experience with Amazon in operations, Unilever in marketing, agricultural production, and technology development. We make money in 3 ways: by selling farm produce at margins of between 10 and 40% to processors and hospitality businesses. We also get 1 to 2% commissions on the loans and insurance products that we secure for the smallholders. And in addition, we charge $10 per farmer for every aggregator that uses our solution to manage their farms. We go to market on the farmer side by leveraging banks, insurance companies, cooperatives, etc., who already have very large networks of smallholder farmers. And on the demand side, we leverage key account managers, growth hackers, public relations, presentations, etc., to reach our customers. Historically, in revenues, we've done more than 4 times of the capital raised. We've been profitable over several months. We grew through COVID-19. We've supported over 4,500 customers, and we're currently unlocking enough credit to ensure that over 35,000 smallholder farmers in Nigeria can access credit from our partner banks. And that is why we're raising a seed round to finance the production of tomatoes, peppers, and chicken with the objective of expanding our farming as a service solution to a software as a service platform. We're using that money to finance marketing, agriculture, logistics, and overhead, and CapEx will be financed with debt. We're promising investors a 59% IRR with the objective of basically supporting them over 5 years. The gross margins of the products we consider are very attractive. The revenues over the next 5 years will be about 10 times more than the revenues after the first year of fundraising. The net profits above 25%, and Food Locker is definitely ready to scale. Ladies and gentlemen, a smallholder farmer in Africa, a tech-enabled farmer in the United States, equal productivity, equal prosperity, Food Locker. Thank you.
Thank you for that great presentation, Femi. Over to you, judges.
Femi, first quick question. How successful have you been at getting the buy side to actually put contracts in place with your platform?
Yeah, so thank you very much for that question. So we have contracts and agreements with a number of large buyers of soybeans, etc., maize, and different customers across Nigeria. We've been very successful in that. Our revenues currently are tending towards $1 million every year.
Can you talk a little bit more about the team and maybe some of the profiles of how you want to try to continue to build the capabilities of the employee base or the overall team going forward?
Yeah, thank you very much. So my background is from Amazon. I also was an engineer in my past life. I grew up on farms, and my co-founder also grew up on a farm where they were producing palm oil and other products. The team usually comprises of agriculture experts. So we've got an expert that works for used to work for the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, had about 10 years of experience there. And then we've started hiring what we call the farm aggregators. These are people who are essentially experienced in managing farmers and supporting farmers to scale. We are currently building out our technology team. So we already have about 4 people who support us with technology development, but we're currently hiring data scientists because we want to accelerate the learning from the data that we're collecting from the farmers. In addition, we're building out also our key account management team. These are people who can essentially sell to very large buyers, large contracts, the likes of Olam, etc. And we've been able to secure contracts even with some of them.
I guess maybe following up on Kevin's question, I'm curious if you're able to secure, contracts on the buyer side, are you effectively able to turn that into offtake agreements with the farmers and thereby kind of relieve them of some of that market risk?
Exactly. That's really the plan. We start with the buyer. We get a contract from the buyer, which then tells us what demand we should expect. And therefore, we then get to meet the suppliers and we sign an agreement as well. We've done quite a number of those kind of agreements on production of chicken. We're doing some projects in northern Nigeria now on production of maize, soybeans, and sorghum. We're running projects also locally here for tomatoes and peppers. And it's all based on contracts. Every single crop or every single fruit that comes from their produce basically gets sold. There's already a market for the production because we're using the demand information to influence supply.
Yes, Femi, so you're not stocking produce? You just taking from one place, putting in another?
Yes. So one of the beauties of the things we're doing is that it's just in time. So the production already has a buyer, right? So as soon as the production happens, we kick in the buyer process. But then we have to then sequence the demand side and the supply side together. So this synchronization is essentially what we focus a lot of our time on in terms of when are they going to need the demand, when should the farmer plant, etc. Of course, we do have some buffer inventory. So we sometimes do have to set up small, what you call the holding inventory locations. And this is really because we want to control the demand fluctuations that happen.
Hey, Femi, maybe, oh, go ahead.
No, so this buffer you're mentioning is the way you, because if there are small suppliers supplying to big buyers, then you need somewhere to aggregate that, right?
Yes. So let me explain
that's
how
what you're doing.
Yeah, so let me explain how it works. Our system is actually a cluster management system. We don't work with single farmers in single locations. We go basically to go secure large numbers of hectares of land. And then we then co-locate all the farmers that need to produce for that particular customer into that environment. So, which means in the beginning, we might have to, incur some cost in maybe finding housing for the farmers, relocating them, etc. But that's really the objective. Every single buyer then has a single source of produce that they can basically source from. So we don't necessarily need to aggregate and collect from multiple locations. We're basically just building out for them a production system.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Femi, I was going to ask you almost same question that we talked about on the buy side. Maybe talk about some of the wraparound services that you had for the small farm holders that was in your chart where you talked about financing and some of those. Is that hopeful? Is that to come, or is that something that's actually in place and being done today?
Yeah, so it's something that is already happening. So in terms of logistics, for example, we have the partnerships and we're already selling. So basically all our revenues have come from basically the sales of produce that have happened over the last few years. Now, what we're doing in addition, we're currently running a pilot with a bank, a very big bank in Africa. And with this pilot, we're rolling out a credit. They're already willing to do this. We have done this experimentally at Food Locker level. It's been very successful. We recently closed a poultry project where we did about 30% gross margins. And this kind of improvements that we're able to drive, they are through real customers. So it's not something for the future. It's something that's already happening.
Any other questions for Femi? Okay, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
And next up, let's welcome Solo Biotecnologías Agrícolas, a company that enables farmers to eliminate the usage of chemical pesticides.
1 second. Hello, everyone. My name is Mauricio. I'm the co-founder and COO of Solo Bio. And as was mentioned, we enable farmers to produce their own biopesticide on farm. And our mission is to eliminate the usage of chemical pesticides in agriculture in the world. And we aim to be the main platform for an affordable, profitable, and sustainable agriculture. When we think about food production, we have a lot of challenges from pests that are resistant to chemicals. Logistics are a nightmare. Distribution channels also are expensive, and so on and so forth. That's why we created Solo Bio. It's basically an end-to-end solution to produce biopesticide on farm. It's like an espresso of agribusiness. We offer the machine, the capsules, and the technical assistance, but with much, much more technology embarked. We have laboratories, biofactories full of IoT and devices, automation, softwares, hardwares, kits of microorganisms, and the whole technical assistance that is 24/7. It's really about setting up and running a production plant on site. The way we monetize our business is by selling the capsules. You know, clients are reporting savings up to 75%, and we have more than $50 million contract signed to be delivered in the next 2 years. As you see, in 2016, our revenue was $36,000. In 2020, we reached 11 million. This year, we're gonna almost triple it. And in the next 2 years, we reached $200 million. We are keeping an EBITDA margin higher than 60%, and we are totally bootstrapped. Most important, our churn is only 1.85%. We are present in the main agricultural crops in Brazil, covering today almost 2 million hectares. And we are going global next year. We're getting demands from Argentina, Paraguay, US, Spain, France, and even from Southeast Asian countries. Right now, we're focusing and we're investing in the scalability of the SoloBio experience, developing digital platforms for customer success, more equipment with IoT and automation, algorithms using metagenomics to prescribe dosages. And we are finalizing our new production plant, which is 20 times bigger than the current one. Just to make it real, our client Mauricio is saving $95 per harvest, and per year is saving almost $200,000 in 1,000 hectares. We have a team of actually our biggest asset is our team. We have 200 people today. Next year is going to be at least 400 SoloBiers with a diverse background, from engineers to biologists, from economists to lawyers, from PhDs to technicians, together with the six co-founders, which we have a lot of strong background in the agribusiness field. Also, we were one of the 10 scale-ups selected out of 1,100 companies around the world to join the Accelerate 2030, which is Impact Hub and UNDP program, supporting and recognizing companies contributing to reach the SDGs. We have been through a lot of acceleration programs from Endeavor, AD, and BEV, UNDP, being recognized twice as one of the most innovative scale-up in the Brazilian AgTech network. And we were selected to be an Endeavor entrepreneur this year. Yeah, this is us. This is SoloBio. This is the Nespresso of the agribusiness. Thank you. Now, questions.
Yes, Silvio. Could you give us some more specifics on the microbial products you have? I mean, what kind of pests are attackable and this kind of thing?
Awesome. Thank you for the question. We have fungicides, nematicides, even insecticides. The only thing that we don't have yet, it's on development, is the herbicides part. So basically, we can control almost everything, almost all challenges you have when you are managing the crops.
Two quick questions for you. How do you approach farmer education? And also, are there any country level regulatory issues or frameworks that you have to navigate or be mindful of?
Yes. So yeah, we do. Actually, we are educating the farmers right now. I mean, we've been doing that for the last 5 years. So we need to show how the technology works and the whole sustainable approach. And we need to make sure that they understand not only the short-term results, but also the long-term results in terms of us switching from chemicals to biopesticides. So we have a full team doing that. We also are running MBAs around that matter. And we are influencing the government, the Brazilian government, to run trainings and programs around that. This year, the Brazilian government just launched the National Biopesticide Program, even giving some loans and a lot of things and trainings. We do have a lot of challenges in terms of regulation. It's something new. Nobody actually thought about that before. In Brazil, we have special regulations, and we are improving that. So no problems with Brazil. But when we think about the LATAM, we are in touch with other governments. They actually are approaching us to share our vision on how to build a regulation. But a lot of countries in Latin America are already building that and trying producing on farm, but not in the way SoloBio actually works. In EU, actually, depending on the country, we can produce. There are other countries that we need to check. I mean, we need to build the regulation. So we are the same as Uber. You know, we need to first enter the market with the regulation side, and then we start to operate.
Can you talk a little bit about, do you own the strains of bacteria that you're producing? Are you using kind of others' cocktails, kind of just what the IP situation is? And then as you think about maybe expanding the portfolio of what you can offer, how complex it is to tune your espresso system, if you will, to be able to manufacture different types of bacteria.
Cool. So in Brazil, it's not allowed to register the IP for microorganisms. So we don't do that. But we have a team, researching and identifying new microorganisms, and then we just take that to our portfolio. Also, we can get from other partners, from institutions, a lot of research institutions, or we can buy from commercial partners. So, for example, in Italy, we were looking at a partner there that is already selling commercial products in terms of biopesticides, and we are getting from them, and then we can use in our platform. But yeah, it's not that difficult. It's something that is being there for a long time, but then eventually, 4 years ago, everybody just switched to the chemical type of approach in terms of managing crops. So yeah, but we have 30 people working in the AP, the R&D team, researching a lot of microorganisms. Today we have 31 microorganisms to come to our portfolio, just to give an idea. We have the IP for the biofactories, so that's something that we hold the IP.
Any other questions for Mauricio? Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. Our next company pitching is This Fish. It's an emerging leader in the seafood traceability software for efficient, transparent supply chains.
Great, thank you very much. I'll just share my screen here. How's that?
Great.
Cool, great. So I'm Eric Enotam, the co-founder and CEO of This Fish, a software company based here in Vancouver, Canada. So we like to romanticize the seafood industry, that well-worn tale of the old man and the sea. And there's certainly some truth to that story, but it's equally true that seafood is the most globally traded protein on Earth. The industry is massive, industrial, and complex. Yet the information systems running global supply chains is pretty archaic. Most of the data is trapped on paper. So at This Fish, our mission is really to take this ancient industry and bring it into the digital age. Why? Well, first, all this paperwork is bad for business. It's inefficient, it's error prone, which often leads to non-compliance, which is a big problem in food processing. But it's not just bad for business, it's bad for the planet too. Seafood has some of the most notoriously opaque supply chains. Illegal fishing, seafood fraud, even human slavery. These are the problems plaguing the global industry. But in such a complex, massive industry, where do you start? There are literally millions of fishing vessels and fish farms on one side of the supply chain, and then millions of restaurants and retailers on the other. Well, in the middle, there's actually only about 50,000 seafood processors engaged in global trade. This is the most critical node in the supply chains. We've identified it as really the data bottleneck. So at This Fish, we've developed new software called Tally that enables seafood processors to digitize all their traceability, production, and quality control data in real time on the factory floor using IoT devices and tablet computers. We currently have 14 customers and about $15,000 in monthly recurring revenue. We've proven that we can scale our technology across a global fragmented market. And so why do customers buy our software? Well, Tally reduces costs by simplifying and automating data collection. The real-time control allows companies to take quick corrective action to prevent costly mistakes. And the electronic traceability strengthens compliance and builds trust with customers. Our revenue model is pretty simple. We charge monthly SaaS fees that really scale with the size and complexity of the processing plant. Our smallest customer literally has one user, and our largest customer is in a large-scale tuna factory in Ecuador with almost 1,800 workers. We estimate that if we sold our software to every single process in the world, we generate about $650 million USD in ARR. But about half of those are not our target market, which means a 30% share of the remainder leaves a sum of about $100 million. A year and a half ago, we also launched our R&D into artificial intelligence. In many ways, seafood processing is a perfect problem for AI and machine learning. Why? Well, because of the natural variability of fish, it's very difficult for seafood processors to predict quality and production outcomes like yields. There are just too many variables. That's a perfect problem for AI. So in November, we launched our first AI-enabled app called TallyBot, which we embed in our Tally software. It's a little digital helper. We kind of think of it as the R2-D2 of seafood processing. We can program TallyBot with standard and machine learning algorithms for predictive analytics, process automation, and classifying items using computer vision. We plan to be the leader in bringing AI to this ancient industry. I'm also really proud of our global leadership team. We have deep experience in seafood traceability, data science, software development, systems engineering, and customer support based in Canada, Peru, and Thailand. And as for me, well, this is actually my old man in the sea. This is my father. I was born and raised in a commercial fishing family in Canada's North Pacific that goes back 4 generations. At This Fish, we're truly passionate about building a data-driven future for sustainable seafood. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
Hi, Eric. Thank you. This is Leonie. Great storytelling. Could you tell us a little bit more about you and your background and how you got into this?
Sure. Yeah, we have a bit of a unique genesis. We are a startup that actually spun out of an environmental group here in Vancouver called EcoTrust Canada. So I was originally working for EcoTrust and started working on technology and the seafood traceability space way back in 2008, 2009. And in late 2017, we spun the company out into a for-profit, kind of traditional startup. So a lot of the work that we've done on understanding global traceability and technology was really kind of incubated in the nonprofit EcoTrust Canada. So and other than that, my personal history, I grew up in a commercial fishing family. I fished my way through high school and university, and I've been in and out of the industry for a large part of my career.
Eric, with that nonprofit background, how are you translating then continued promotion and advocacy of the importance of sustainability issues, whether it's to your customers, to our larger public, through This Fish?
Yeah, so the key insight that I had during the time in the nonprofit is it's hard to make altruism scale virally, like, wanting people to do the right thing. However, if you can provide an economic incentive, then things can grow and traceability can take off. So while we were at the nonprofit, we really focused a lot on traceability, human rights, et cetera. But the reality is companies need traceability because they need to track their material costs. In fact, up to 75% of the cost of goods sold in seafood is the raw material, because seafood is extremely expensive. So what we've now been focusing on in terms of our sales to companies is really about raw material control, around process control. And so we sell them on this is good for business, but at the same time, now they're going to be strengthening their traceability throughout their production facility. So, we kind of lead with the economics and, stronger traceability for sustainability is kind of a byproduct of that. So we've kind of put before we put the cart before the horse, and now the horse is sort of pulling the sustainability mission along.
Eric, can you talk a little bit about your customer segmentation? I know you talk a lot about kind of canning, maybe tuna, higher value species in the slide deck. Is there a dynamic where you guys have to maybe gravitate towards the higher value species for the economics to make sense, or can you go down to kind of maybe smaller operations, but then those tend to be the ones who are worse at a lot of this compliance?
Yeah, this is a really good question. So one, the seafood industry is extremely fragmented. I mean, the FDA is monitoring over 1,800 species. So it's extremely fragmented market. A lot of small scale processors and large scale. The good news is that we've built our software to scale across all this fragmentation, different processes and different scale. And I don't think that there's a competitor that's out there that can do that. And that's why the vast majority of small and medium-sized businesses in the industry have no technology. However, our go-to-market strategy is focused on the tuna sector. Why? Because in the bowling pin strategy for go-to-market, we need to hit the first pin that will knock over the remainder pins. Tuna is a global industry with tuna processors all over the world. The tuna industry is in much of the world is co-located with the shrimp industry. So tuna and shrimp being the two largest seafood commodities on the wild capture, and then of course farm salmon. So tuna is our go-to-market strategy. During COVID, we had to do a little bit of a pivot, and we started selling to small scale operations because we could do that all remotely. The small factories were actually so simple that we could do a lot of the installs remotely and didn't have to travel. Now that the travel ban's gone, we're starting to travel, and I'm heading off to Belize and Ecuador actually on Friday to do an installation and meet with our large customer in Ecuador.
Hi, Eric. Do you think your know-how on fishery is applicable to other verticals in order to attack a larger market?
Yeah, so there are a lot of unique attributes for the seafood industry, which basically makes it more complex, and we've had to design the software to configure for this complexity. So yes, at the end of the day, in a way, it's agnostic to what's being traced or what's being digitized. So we could move into other verticals. We are looking at the fish meal and just general protein sector. However, I think at this early stage as a company, one of our competitive advantages is that we know the industry, the seafood industry, and we're really well networked. And there are a lot of companies out there, like larger food tech conglomerates, AgTech conglomerates, that are not in seafood, and we believe we're kind of positioning ourselves to be an attractive acquisition for a company that's really in global food, but has a really big blind spot in seafood. And I've got some early indications that's being validated.
Any other questions for Eric? Okay, thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Take care.
Great. Now we're starting the second half of the pitches. Let's welcome Kilimo, a full stack solution for irrigation management.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jairo Trat, CEO and co-founder of Kilimo. According to the UN, by 2030, half of the world population will live in an area with severe or absolute water scarcity. And if we want to tackle that problem, we have to tackle the biggest user of water, agriculture. 70% of the water that we use as humans goes to agriculture, and that number goes up to 85% in some countries. And by 2050, the global water demand for agriculture is estimated to increase an extra 20% more. That's why in Quilimo we developed a software as a service solution that uses AI to provide irrigation recommendation to farmers using satellite data and weather data. How our product works, we ask the farmer for some basic data about the field at the farm that they have. We put that data into our model that uses satellite data and weather data, and we provide the farmers with basic insights in a very simple web and mobile solution. But what is key for our users is that we tell them what to do next. Irrigate half an inch in the next week. The basis of our technology is that we collect and consolidate weather data from any public available weather station. If the data from a weather station is online, we are already collecting that data. And we also use an array of 9 satellites, 5 public satellites and 4 private satellites to track how the greenness of the crop changes over the season. And with those 2 data points, we can know how much water any crop is using anywhere on the world without having to install any type of sensor on the ground and in less than 10 minutes. We have 3 different prices. A solution that is priced per farmer per year for very small farmers. We have a solution for the mid-sized farmer that is priced per hectare per year. We have a solution for the corporate farmer that's called Irrigation Central that is priced per hectare per year too. We have a team of that combines experience in leadership in NGOs and in other AgTech startups. So we have over 30 years of combined experience in the area. And some of our KPI is that this year we'll be reaching $1.1 million in annual recurring revenue. The cost of acquisition of our product is $2,000. The average ticket per year per each customer that we have is $4,000. This year we will be doubling our revenue. Our CAC to lifetime value ratio is 5.1, so we have a little room to expand our investment in marketing there, and our margin is 53%. But what is key for us is our impact. Last year we helped our farmers save 30 billion liters of water. This year we will be providing services to over 2,000 smallholder farmers, and via our content marketing strategy that's called Irrigation Academy, we will be training this year over 60,000 farmers and agronomists in Latin America and Europe. Right now, we're raising a Series A of $3 million to expand our digital marketing strategy, improve the scalability of our product, grow our team in Latin America and the US, and start some pilots in Europe. And we are opening the conversation for that Series A. Please help us further our impact and reshape the value of water in agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Jairo, for Quilimo.
As Jairo, maybe I can go first. How do you consider yourself different from other providers or of similar services?
Irrigation is one of the most invested categories in agriculture because it's a big problem. I mean, when you do agriculture, you're mostly using water. If you don't have water, you cannot do agriculture. We are one of the few solutions that uses only data. Most of the other providers are trying to solve this problem using IoT, using hardware on the ground. We believe that what happens is that using IoT sounds really interesting when you are at your home, at your office, but if you have to deploy a hardware to a farm, that's really hard, really expensive, in general doesn't scale. So our difference is that we can be scalable, and we are one of the few solutions that are solving this problem in this way.
And maybe as a follow-up to that, my question is, when you look at your solution using no hardware, do you have any sort of comparative examples of, let's call it a farm that uses sensors or IoT versus yours, and the accuracy of sort of the predictions that or the prescriptions that you're giving in regards to water usage? So really I'm trying to understand if your data approach is as accurate or more accurate as a hardware solution.
first, I have a experience in this. I had another startup doing IoT for irrigation management, so I know the problem in depth. In general, what happens when we go to a farm that already have some type of sensors on the farm, they try Quilimo and then they ditch the sensor the next year. So we are way more accurate than the sensors that are on the market right now. And in terms of impact, in general, we save our farmers between 20 and 30% less water with the same yields. And sometimes with some farmers, we can increase yields. So that's the impact of our technology compared to what the farmer is doing right now.
Can you talk a little bit more about the Irrigation Academy, how it works, how frequent it hosts events, or just how it came together, but a little more detail on that outreach?
When last 2 years ago, we started to do some local meetups with farmers. That was an in-person meetup. We tried to do some webinars, but nobody came. I mean, it was impossible to get a farmer on Zoom, for example. And then in the middle of the pandemic, in April last year, we decided as a team that we were doing to do one live event every week forever. I mean, and we have been doing that. We have between 4 and 7 live events online for farmers, treating everything related to irrigation, right? And the demand is amazing. I mean, farmers kind of discover what they can do with Zoom and YouTube, and they are very much interested in the Irrigation Academy. We have farmers sending us emails telling us that they downloaded Zoom for the first time to listen to our Irrigation Academy seminars. They send us like love letters. It's really hard to get a farmer to love you, but they send us love letters saying the Irrigation Academy is amazing. We love what you're doing. It started as a content marketing strategy, but it's an amazing way to expand our impact because we're training farmers, we're training agronomists, we're training students, and they are pretty much in love with the initiative. We do one event per week at least in the irrigation area.
Any other questions for Jairo? Okay, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you.
And next up, I'd like to welcome Orbem, who has an AI-powered imaging technology for everything and everyone.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Thank you. So then again, thanks for having us. My name is Miguel Molina. I'm co-founder and CTO of Orbem, where we are shedding light onto the world's toughest challenges. And for the last 2 days, we have seen how difficult, how tough it is to make food industry sustainable. And this is probably one of the largest challenges we have as human beings ahead. Let me zoom in and focus in one big problem that we have in the food industry. There we go. Poultry is the largest source of animal protein for human consumption. And this beautiful egg hides actually big pains inside. The poultry industry grows 2 different breeds of birds, broilers for meat and layers for eggs. Broilers have been optimized over the years to gain weight as quickly as possible, but they suffer from a low fertility rate. Every time we put an infertile egg in an incubator, it does not develop. We waste it. So we cannot eat the egg anymore. It occupies space, it takes time and money. Likewise, layers are selected to lay as many eggs as possible, leaving, of course, the males in an unfortunate situation because they don't lay eggs, but they cannot compete with the broilers in the meat market. They're skinny birds, so they're hatched, they are manually sexed, and sadly, they're killed. So every year, we waste 9 billion perfectly edible infertile broiler eggs. 9 billion eggs are enough to feed 1 egg per day to half of the world's starving children. At the same time, we kill 7 billion one-day-old male chicks. which is almost the human population on the globe yearly. At Orbem, we are determined to change this and contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals, because we believe that real impact lives in the intersection of a huge problem, a breakthrough technology, and a radical solution. Well, the huge problem we already have. The breakthrough technology is artificial intelligence. And for a radical solution, we took an MRI machine, a magnetic resonance imaging machine, and energized it with AI to make it fast, accessible, and simple. So we have created the world's first patented AI-powered MRI scanner to see or capable of seeing through the eggshell, unleashing 3D computer vision for egg classification, helping our customers to separate fertile from infertile and male from female eggs. Fertility detection happens on day 0. Before incubation, we scan all the eggs, and instead of putting them all in the incubator and waste billions of them after 18 days, we separate the infertile one and use them as food supply. A few days later, we classify males from females. Females go back into the incubator, and males become the raw material for vaccine production. Instead of hatching, sexing, killing them, we give the males a higher purpose. Poultry is just the beginning. Our platform unleashes AI-powered imaging for everything and everyone, creating positive impact across the whole food industry, but also in material science, bioengineering, and healthcare. To feed the rising population, the poultry industry incubates more than 90 billion eggs every year, for an aggregated market value of 4 billion euros in poultry alone. And after poultry, we will scale towards everything and everyone. And to build and commercialize such a solution, we have put together a team that combines knowledge in MRI, avian embryology, and artificial intelligence, blending our previous experience in academia and entrepreneurship with the industrial experience of our investors. Orbem started in 2018 as a spin-off of the Technical University of Munich, and since then we have gained significant traction due to the positive impact of our technology. We raised more than 2.3 million euros in funding, including 1.8 million equity free. And this year, we have validated our technologies with our customers, leading to the first ever installation of a hatchery-ready MRI machine by Q3 this year. We are working to raise 4 million euros to demonstrate the product market fit in poultry, consolidate our technologies to exceed customer expectations, and to achieve annual recurring revenues of 3 million by 2023. With the support of Extreme Tech Challenge and its community, Orbem will create an impact in the triple bottom line: people, planet, and profit. Thank you.
Thank you, Miguel. Over to the judges' questions.
Miguel, I may have missed this, but your business model, is it to actually sell these MRI units sort of in a B2B, or is it as a service?
We're definitely a B2B company. We sell the machines with very low margin because our business is not selling the machines. Our business is the service. So we actually charge a fee per classified egg.
Okay, so a little bit of both then. All right, how expensive is the machine? Rough numbers, just to get an idea.
Around 300,000 euros.
Okay, thank you.
This is the price of today. Of course, we have to optimize our supply chains. We are pretty confident we can take this price down at least by half.
Is there any intellectual property involved in terms of patents? So you've got if I understand correctly, it's more of a traditional MRI. I shouldn't say traditional. I'm sure it's more than that. But your innovation is the AI product on top. Is that correct?
Yeah. So far we have been using off-the-shelf MRIs, but of course not from the clinical world, because those are prohibitively expensive. Our goal is to deliver the same image quality with much lower quality hardware. And that's what we're doing with AI. In terms of IP, we own 2 patents on specific classification for fertility and sex determination of avian eggs.
Miguel, this is Leonie. Part of your product roadmap, suggest that you may get into healthcare at a later stage. How does your technology currently differ from any of the competitors that do exist, ultimately mitigating any?
Yeah, so as I was mentioning before, we're building a platform that is able to use or decrease the hardware expenses of the MRI, which are still quite high. And MRI has been traditionally a trend of going for, more powerful machines, of course, more expensive machines, which made MRI first world technology. We want to walk the other way around. And actually, poultry is our first application in that sense, because it's actually a big niche. So it has a huge potential in terms of impact, but also in terms of revenue and technology demonstration. And as we build this technology that we can, decrease hardware requirements by increasing the software component of it, or the AI component of it, we end up with technology that is suitable also for the healthcare industry, that has been demonstrated in the industry before. So this is part of our roadmap. I don't know if that answered your question, Leonie.
Hi, Miguel. I'm also curious, have you tested your system? What's kind of the accuracy versus, there are a couple of other players in this field who are also kind of tackling the same problem. And how does kind of your hardware at the price that you're proposing, compare to some of the others?
Yeah, so the competitors we have so far, they're either in sexing or fertility, but none of them can do both things together. And most of them are invasive, meaning that they have to open the eggs or extract sample from the eggs or modify the eggs genetically to tell the differences between males and females, or even fertile or infertile. The difference is that we actually don't have to touch the egg. We're totally contactless, because the MRI has been in clinical applications since the 80s, and no side effects have been demonstrated. So actually the technology itself is totally harmless, contactless. So that is already one competitive advantage. In terms of accuracy, for fertility detection, our laboratory data shows that we are above 97% accuracy. And for sex determination, it's still early to tell. We are still working hard on finding the right biomarker that will improve or actually the reproducibility is pretty much the big problem there.
Hi, Miguel. Due to the cost of the hardware, it seems that your target customer is on the larger size, right? Have you calculated what the market size is for that kind of customer?
Yeah, so you mean for the low end, for the high volume?
High volume.
High volume. So we expect that the return of investment will be in less than a year. Just imagine a medium-sized customer processing 40 million eggs per year. That is kind of like an average volume from the people we have been talking to. They will have an annual recurring revenue with this technology of 1.5 million euros for 40 million eggs, which means that they get the return of investment in less than a year.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Miguel, for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
Next, please take the stage, Safety Net Technologies, which is a trusted tech that enables sustainable practices in the fishing industry.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Victoria. I'm just going to share my screen. There we go. Hello, my name's Aaron Desan. I'm Chief Technology Officer at Safety Net Technologies. Did you know that 1 in 10 fish that is caught is something we call bycatch? That is, it's an endangered species that wasn't meant to be caught. Maybe it's too juvenile and endangers future fish stocks, or it's simply not commercially viable. And when you're trawling with a net of an architectural scale, it's very hard to discriminate what enters the net and what doesn't. This leads to a lot of waste that is discarded every year. And this isn't only an a biodiversity problem, it's also an economic problem to the fishing vessels involved, who, due to bycatch, can lose up to $500,000 per vessel per year. And this is in the context of increasing demand for fish protein. What are needed are technology tools to empower fishermen to selectively catch only what they want. And this is what SafetyNet is creating. This is our flagship product called Pisces. It's a bycatch reduction device and fits to...
I'm sorry, I'm going to pause you for a second. I don't see the slides advancing. Were you advancing slides?
I am. Oh, sorry. Let me go off full screen mode.
We
Is that
were
any
on,
better?
yeah, we were on the title slide.
Okay. No worries. I'll just pick up where I've left off. Thanks for your patience. So this is our flagship product, Pisces. It's an underwater light that fits to fishing gear. And depending on the wavelength of light it emits, it can affect the behavior of different species. So we can tell your target catch to swim into the net unaffected by the light, whilst at the same time repelling undesirable species. This is the kind of precision fishing effect it can create. This is a photo showing a 90% bycatch reduction in a shrimp fishery in Oregon. The result was reproduced 40 times, demonstrating strong statistical significance. And where we can replicate this result, and we get between 70 and 90% typically, depending on the fishery and the fish species involved. What's great about this approach is that our underwater light can emit a variety of different wavelengths of light for affecting different fish species, to repel even sort of charismatic megafauna and ocean reptiles. Attraction is also important because we can also attract fish species out of the net. We can attract fish species to escape panels built into the fishing gear. We've verified and worked with various international academic and governmental organizations to demonstrate this. So that's Pisces, it's patent pending. We have a large-scale production line established and a healthy inventory of the products. And now we're starting to deploy these lights with customers. Again, there's a strong economic incentive for bycatch reduction using our product. By removing bycatch from the hold of your vessel, you can increase your revenue by up to 25%. You decrease your fuel costs by catching what you want faster within fishing quotas. And also crew welfare is increased in terms of sorting time and the labor involved on the deck of the vessel. We provide our product as a service to package not only the hardware, but the consultancy involved in deploying the lights underwater. One has to choose the correct wavelength, but also the correct deployment on the net, which is a very sophisticated geometry, and the placement of the lights is critical. This in-house knowledge to SafetyNet is one of our pieces of intellectual property. There are competitors in bycatch reduction using a variety of different technologies outside of light emission. Our USP at SafetyNet is that we've got a very fundamental science-based approach based on marine biology. We're really well connected to the fishing industry and fisheries science academia. And we've protected our product, again, with our trade secret of this database of fish species responses, but also patenting around the hardware design. Our traction so far is that as we're deploying, we were slowed down by COVID-19, but now markets are opening up again and companies are investing in R&D more. We've achieved 300,000 euros in positive interest towards the end of our pipeline with some really exciting trials partners. Our team is really deeply experienced in fisheries science and technology. Our latest hire, Tom, actually is a former fisherman and has worked in fishing technologies across lots of government organizations in the UK and is now our sales lead. Our product team has a really rich experience in marine robotics as well. We're also a social enterprise, and we have several company-wide KPIs around the SDGs. So our portfolio of products, and I've just mentioned our one flagship product, are all linked to the SDGs via primary and secondary effects that we track. Our status at the moment is we're raising a second seed round of funding of around 2 million British pounds, which is 70% filled. We're spending this money to take Pisces to market in North America and progress the R&D of several other net fishing gear mounted technology products that we think have great potential for ocean sustainability that I would love to talk about further with you. That's Safety Net Technologies. Thanks for your attention.
Okay, well, let's talk about it. I'm sorry, I missed your first name when you were presenting.
Oh, my name's Aaron.
Aaron, okay, thank you so much. Turn it over to the judges.
Aaron, quick question. Maybe give a high level sort of development timeline of the company. It sounds like you guys have multiple products. What I'm trying to connect is, it looks like you guys were founded almost 10 years ago, but you're just sort of getting to commercialization. Is it because you've got multiple products and this product is very new, or is it because you've done a lot of time in terms of research and development to get this product to market? Just trying to understand what scalability might look like for this particular product.
Sure, thanks for the question. The first 5 years, honestly, were spent as the original founder and CEO working on it in his evenings and weekends with the slow development time. What changed was achieving publicly funded grants that allowed to hire myself and start expanding the team. The founding team went full time 3 years ago, and that's where we started growing the team and raising our first round of investment. So yes, I feel like the 10-year timeline is not quite representative of our journey.
Yes. Aaron, what sales channel are you planning to use? Are you going B2C or how is this?
It's B2B, and we're targeting large fishing vessel operators, not individual vessels. And just because if we target a fleet and we make a successful sale, we instantly are selling kits of our lights to a fleet of 10 or more vessels at a single time. And the channel itself is very human-based. A lot of technology uptake in the fishing industry is based on face-to-face interactions at trade shows and at equipment distributors in fishing towns.
Thanks.
Hi, Aaron. How are you thinking about maybe expanding in terms of that customer segment down to maybe smaller fleet operators, especially coverage of like Southeast Asia, where people are more likely to use kind of the trawling of the ocean floor and are less compliant in this area?
We've segmented our customer base, if I'm understanding the question correctly, according to vessel size. So there's at the bottom end, you've got artisanal vessels. These are single person, often wooden vessels, and we're not targeting those because the incentives for sustainable fishing aren't quite correct there yet, but that's something we're working on. The very, very top end, where you've got large factory mega vessels, which comprise 1% of our potential customer base, we're also not going for, purely because the middle ground with vessels around the 20-meter upward size, there's a huge number of them. So by going here first, we actually get a larger environmental impact faster, we feel. I'm not sure if that answered the question though.
Yeah, no, I think that's helpful because both it's for, economics to you as well as the impact story.
Any other questions for Aaron? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now moving on to our last presentation today, please welcome Wasteless, an AI inspiration analytics or expiration analytics to reduce food waste at retailers.
Thank you, Victoria. Are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I'm seeing your screen.
Great. So I'm Thomas, and I'm from Wasteless. So 1/3 of the food produced today in the world is never eaten. So when we see how this waste goes, we see that almost half of it happens at supermarkets. And this is not only bad for the planet, but also for retailers, which usually throw away up to 8% of perfectly edible food, concentrated mostly on the perishable and fresh categories. So who's to blame about this? Expiration dates. We, as consumers, tend to always choose the product with the longer expiration date, even when we know our intention is to consume it within a day or two. There is no rational incentive to choose a product with a shorter date, as the prices are usually the same. The solution to this problem is Wasteless. Wasteless allows supermarkets to price and sell products based on their freshness. Using AI, our pricing engine continually monitors the shelves and delivers the best markdown for each expiration date, depending on the risk of each item of being wasted. So consumers are rewarded to make a sustainable purchase, helping retailers minimize their loss. How does it work? First of all, traditional barcodes are replaced by data-enabled barcodes to include the expiration date, applied either in store or at food suppliers, so that checkouts can recognize the expiration of each item. Then the point of sale interacts with the pricing engine, while consumers are able to see these eventual discounts with electronic shelf labels, e-commerce platforms, or mobile apps. The technology behind uses reinforcement learning to track sales patterns, taking into account over 43 factors such as supply, demand, time of the day, or elasticity of each customer toward freshness. The algorithm gets this information and determines for each expiration date whether to apply a discount or not, and by how much, learning and improving its performance over time. Now, the good news is that it actually works. For example, in Spain and in Italy, stores were able to reduce up to 40% of waste while increasing revenues and product margins. Our patented solution is currently the only one that uses expiration dates and AI to prevent waste from happening at the first place, while other players are following a more traditional and reactive approach towards the food waste issue. We charge retailers an initial setup fee per store and a monthly fee per product that is tracked by our pricing engine. Our strategy to accelerate adoption of our technology has been usually pre-integrating with the biggest point-of-sale companies, while building also an ecosystem of system integrators and key retail players. Also, we are very proud to announce our upcoming project with Metro, one of the largest retailers in Europe, where we will hopefully launch in the next few weeks. We have a global team of engineers and data scientists that have been working with data analytics and also in acquired retail software companies. And finally, we are currently raising 4 million to complete our Series A in order to release the third version of our pricing engine and scale up our sales team. So Wasteless offers a triple win solution. We help supermarkets to sell more. We give customers the opportunities to save money while helping to build a more sustainable future for our planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tomas. Over to the judges' questions.
Yes, Tomas. What percentage of a supermarket's SKUs do you think it will cover normally?
Yes, as said, we are mainly focused on fresh categories, which are the ones that are at higher risk of waste, which are usually also mostly wasted. On average, this accounts for about 20% of each supermarket. So it could be less depending on the store. Maybe the neighborhood stores are more likely to have a higher percentage of fresh items, and more like hypermarkets have a smaller number of SKUs. But on average, we are expecting to have per store about 200 to 500 SKUs, okay, that we are tracked and that we are optimizing its prices.
In my experience, a regular supermarket has between 30 and 60,000 SKUs. 500 SKUs is not at 20% of that. So,
right. Yes, that.
I mean, this all goes to the pricing, because when I saw the pricing, it's like, that's much too expensive. I mean, if you're planning to pay 10,000 times $5.8 per month per store, that's a lot.
Yes, so it's not about the price, it's about how much you save. So based on our experience, the return on investment was between 3 months to 12 months. Depends a lot on how much data we can feed the algorithm, and of course the previous waste, depending on the operations of the store. And also regarding the number of SKUs, we expect to have between 200 and 500 in the short term. And the reason for this is mainly because we have one very strong limiting factor that kind of limits our scale, which is that many items have the barcode that is printed on suppliers, which is also printed on the package, okay? Our items, the items that we work with, which are more likely that we can easily change this barcode from supplier or from in-store, are those that have a printed label, okay? That's why in the short term, we expect to have that number of SKUs. In the future, we expect actually to have 60,000 SKUs, and not only the perishable items, but also apply the pricing engine to products that are not necessarily food, but also any kind of product, because the overstock on out of stock problem can also be solved by dynamic pricing, okay?
Thank you.
Hi, Thomas. Well, first of all, it's quite an interesting premise, and in a way, you know, just very simply leveraging kind of the power economics to create an alignment of incentives. So my question is, like, what is preventing maybe some of these larger retailers from developing their own system? I mean, they have access to all of their POS data, kind of, and once they cap or get onto this idea of, you know, dynamic pricing, you know, do you fear that one day a lot of these players will just develop their own systems?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, it's funny because they tried to build one and they failed. One large retailer, which actually has a more like technological approach, but the thing is that retailers are not tech companies and they are not data companies. In fact, one of the first impressions we get when we get on a store is like, we feel that you are selling a rocket to Mars, when they are actually trying to migrate from Windows 98 to Windows 7. So it's kind of like they are more focused on selling and more like in an old-fashioned way. That's why they are not that likely to generate this by their own, because you need like a team that has a data background, and we actually did that in previous startups. We work with data analytic company, beverage, actually pricing engine for beverage, the beverage industry. So it's kind of like they could do it because they have the capital to do, but it will be way faster and easier to just get it from outside.
Hi, Thomas, this is Leonie. What is the onboarding process for a supermarket, and how much time is required to actually maintain one SKU?
Sorry, the last part I missed.
How much time is required for them to maintain and update a SKU or multiple SKUs?
Okay, so first of all, what we do is we ask for the previous data, historical data, and that we feed to the pricing engine. And then we get a soft integration with the point of sale, which could take between 3 days to 2 months, depending on how willing they want to open their IT teams. Okay, so that's one part. And then for the pricing engine itself, it works automatically and on its own. So you can set up some kind of characteristics, for example, how many times you want the pricing engine to change during the day, or some kind of different things like that. But actually, it's like a closed box solution that they just install it and then run it, and then they can see how it's performing. Okay. I don't know if I answered your last question, or not sure if I understood correctly.
Oh, sorry. So I'm just wondering if someone, so I was part of the team that built out Whole Foods e-store, and we were looking at hundreds and thousands of SKUs, and it took a lot of time to go through them. So I'm just wondering if Whole Foods was perhaps one of your customers, how much time would they need a liaison, basically, or like a representative from their team to engage with you in order to manage each of these SKUs on a daily basis as they continue to turn out other products?
Okay, on average, we take between 1 month to 3 months between we say, okay, we sign the contract and we start working. In fact, for example, Whole Foods may be even faster because they are more like, they are, for example, they already have in some stores electronic shelf labels, which that's something that can accelerate because they are already familiar with how it works. Although we can also provide the ESLs, the electronic shelf labels, and that's something pretty straightforward. But I would say on average 1 to 3 months. Of course, depending on the number of stores and depending on how much willing they want to make it happen. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? Great, thank you, Tomas, for your presentation. Okay, I'm going to bring back my slide now. Great, do you see this now? Do you see my slide share? Yeah, okay, good, good. So, oh, great, got it going. So thank you, startups, and to the judges, Beth Bechtel, Kathy Chen, Pablo Gomez-Trenner, Kevin Lockett, and Leonie Wirikun for your great questions. Now the judges have the hard job of selecting one winner from both days of exceptional startup pitches. And congratulations to all 16 AgTech and food startup companies pitched today and yesterday. It was really great to learn about these innovations, and we're so impressed and inspired by the great work that you're doing to create a better world. As you heard today, these startups are looking to connect with investors and corporate partners to further scale their businesses. So if anybody's interested, reach out to me and we'll make the connections. And all the startups, now you're part of this XTC community, and we will continue to help facilitate these intros to help you continue your success. So to learn more about the startups presented today, and yesterday and more from different tracks, please head over to go.philo.com/XTC, and this is where we're hosting their virtual booth. And also you can vote for your favorite startup from the XTC 2021 Global Finalist Cohort. The winner of the People's Choice Award, along with the category winners and special awards winners, will get to pitch at the final stage, which is our 2021 Global Finals, presented by TechCrunch on July 22nd. So all the presenters will battle out for the crown of the overall winner of XTC 2021. And just to give you a sense, last year's our overall winner, Microgen Biotech, also went on to win the Female Founder Award, as well as raising a significant investment round upon its win. And they've been ramping up ever since. And please join us for the rest of the category finals series, continue tomorrow to next Wednesday, June 30th. So mark your calendars and head to our website for the links to join. And we'll be publishing all the videos, recordings to our YouTube channel. So head over there, subscribe, and so you won't miss them. And we're going to announce the category winners publicly on July 1st. And for anyone watching, you're all invited to attend our XTC Global Final presented by TechCrunch on July 22nd at 9 a.m. Pacific time. It is open and free to the public for all to attend this virtual event. And join to watch the category winners, special award winners, and People's Choice Award winners to pitch to a judging panel of world-renowned executives and investors, and then stay for the virtual networking with thousands of corporate executives, VCs, startups, policymakers, and domain experts. And with that, we're wrapping up the public pitch session of the XTC AgTech Food and Water category finals. And thank you so much for joining today, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Remember to follow us on social media to get the latest news and updates from XTC, and have a really great rest of your day.